ascend, helping individuals ascend, taking these families and lifting up their spirits. And so we decided, instead of me just visiting prisons, we should focus more on the re-entry stage, because we don't want to have people going back to prison. We've developed a system where 9 out of the 10 people I visit in prison remain home. We're on the national scale, it's way over 50% people keep returning to prison. And the system that I'm able to develop and what I do keeps 9 out of those people, 9 out of 10 home. And so one of my sons, to allow me to expand the operation, raise funds, come and speak to you tonight on the program, he moved to Southern Illinois to take those long, long travel days away from me. So he has 15 prisons within a 100-mile radius of him. He's visiting those prisons. I'm continuing to visit the ones that are about 100 or 150 miles out of Chicago up north. And then my second son, who joined this work, is working directly with those that have been released. He's calling them, studying with them, counseling with them, mentoring them, and his dear wife, my daughter-in-law, is calling mothers, wives, making groups, self-help groups where they could get together and bond with each other and maybe join to do trips together, and just hear that they're not the only ones in the world, that it's a horrible thing. A Jewish family, all of a sudden, somebody in jail, who ever heard of that? The family gets crushed, and the children of that father that went away are shunned by their classmates, and the media exposure, and it's a horrible feeling. And they're innocent, and they're living a nightmare they didn't ask for. So my daughter-in-law and son, they're working with the families to expand that, to be there, to hold their hand, to tell them, we have other families that have been through this, that we could hold your hand, guide you, and show you resources, and help you, continue. If you need a job because your husband left, you have to get a job, or if the house is going in foreclosure, we have resources in the legal community. The Decalogue Society of Jewish Lawyers is willing to help us with legal people who need legal help, and children. They need to go to school, they need to go to camp. So we have camping programs, and we have educational programs, and we have people that will take them to ball games and do something with them, to be their father or mother while they're absent. So, that's what my sons are doing to help me with this.
Do you feel that it's better to have a woman doing a lot of those things with the families, nurturing the wife or the daughters? Is a woman better at that, would you say?
I don't know if a woman is necessarily better, because for years I have been counseling women and men. Okay. However, I do feel that a woman is naturally going to be more comfortable with another woman, and not to go off on the wrong track, but unfortunately we live in a society where there's a lot of improprieties, and I think it's much safer for that me and my son deal with the men, and my wife, as she was doing, and my daughter-in-law, they will deal with the women. It's in this society, I feel that's much safer. And yes, I think that the woman, that there's a special touch a woman has, a special warmth and understanding. I think, all these books, men are from here and ladies are from there, so ladies understand ladies.
They do.
They do.
They do.
So I think for that reason, it's just a woman with a woman. Okay. Whereas I could go to one of the men and we could bang our heads together and do, speak like a man speaks to a man. I think my daughter-in-law is so sweet and gentle, and the way she speaks with the ladies really has that womanly touch to it. So there's a great advantage that I would never be able to do on my own.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful that you can say that, You're not macho about it, if you will. What about the food? Jewish prisoners who want to eat kosher food, of course, the jails don't offer that, do they?
Well, a famous Jew from many, many years ago, back probably in the late 70s, early 80s, was a real hardliner. His name was Rabbi Kahana. And
I remember.
he started the Jewish Defense League. So he used to get arrested, and he ended up going to federal prison. And at that time there was nothing. So he filed lawsuits, and he stood up for his rights. I'm Jewish, and you're in America. And since that time, there have been court rulings, which he made it a lot easier for many, unfortunately, that there have to be Jews following him, but there are inevitably Jewish people that go to prison. And the law of the land, and it's really, in the federal prisons, they stick to it. They really, really stick to it. In a federal prison, a man not only could, but does get kosher meals, and could have the opportunity to put on tefillin if they want, or a lady to light the Shabbat candles, and they could get I just came from prisons downstate where the chaplain told me, we bought 2 new sukkah, a sukkah for the men, a sukkah for the ladies.
Let's explore, for those who don't know, what the Sukkot situation is in the tefillin.
Well, there's a commandment in the Torah that 4 days after Yom Kippur, there's a holiday where Jewish people go out into huts, out in the open, and you can imagine in a prison, you're going to put a hut in the middle of, but according to the law, the prison has to do that. So they do that. They buy the huts, they let the men put it up, eat their meals inside, and tefillin is a special prayer in Deuteronomy to put a sign on your hands and a remembrance between your eyes. And it's actually boxes bound with straps that a boy at 13, that's the first time a Jewish boy would do that. That's one of the things that is done by a bar mitzvah. So these men, when they come to prison, they have to do that every day. And so, but there's straps, and it looks like a security issue, but they are allowed to do that. Now that's in the federal prison, and the law.
Is that a law that they must do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And the federal system is very, very good at enforcing the law.
Okay.
The states and the counties, like Cook County Jail or the state of Illinois prisons, they have the same. They're under federal law. However, they don't have the same compliance. The federal government really has penalties for their employees if they don't follow it. And in the states, many times the states say, we don't have money, or we never heard of this, or what are you talking about? Somewhere in southern Illinois, they don't have much experience of what a Jewish person is, and they say, you want what? A thing? Or they don't even know what Jewish objects are. The kosher food is very strange to them, and so a lot of times there have been other lawsuits filed, but the state of Illinois officially, on paper, if you're Jewish, you could get kosher food. It's not a very good system of how they do it, but that's the law, and they do their best. They try. The state is broke now. There's budgetary problems, and sometimes they have to give them fruits and vegetables. It's not up to par, but it's the law. And they let them have these religious items, but it doesn't come so easily. Cook County happens to be pretty good. My experience, Cook County Jail has a real kosher diet. The only problem is it's the same every day, because they say, you're in county jail a week, and they're not going to. But sometimes people stay for 2 or 3 years. But at least they know the lunch, breakfast. There's no variety, but they know it's kosher. And I've checked their kitchen. It really is kosher. And Cook County is pretty good about these things. Some of the smaller county jails, it's very hard to get the local sheriff to do anything. Sometimes it takes political pressure from one of the Jewish state senators, or if we have connections in the governor's office. Sometimes we have to twist some arms to get things done. And unfortunately, in some of the smaller rural areas, there is anti-Semitism.
Yes.
And, people are berated because they're Jewish, and sometimes there's even incidents that take place, not just from other inmates, sometimes from staff members. It's just very sad, but it does occur. I would say it's on the lower, on a scale from 1 to 10, it's on the 5 or less scale, the anti-Semitism. It's not raging, it's not, but it does happen, unfortunately. It's not, I can't say it's...
it doesn't exist.
I cannot say it does. It does exist.
How do you deal with that?
Well, I deal with it, I believe, in a very unique way. I try to explain to each man and woman that we really believe in God, and we really believe God protects individuals, and we really believe that if something is not meant to happen to you, God will not let it happen. If somebody's not meant to harm you, even if they want to do harm to you, God will not allow them to do harm to you. And I try to instill within them this belief and this way to go forward. And if for some reason, with that attitude, those men actually experience less anti-Semitism. They're going more with an attitude where, look, I'm just Jewish, you're not Jewish, but there's not much difference between us, and I just want to do a few of these religious things. And sometimes when men go with an attitude, with the macho attitude like you spoke about before, and sometimes ladies have that too.
Oh, yeah.
And they come in like, you better not be anti-Semitic to me, and I'm going to sue you. And then all of a sudden they're like raising red flags. They're coming in very aggressively, and the reaction from the staff is sometimes, yeah, we're going to show you who's the boss. Where if somebody comes in with a more humble attitude, and just people see they're not out for lawsuits, they're not out to be aggressive, they're just genuinely Jewish. And they happen to act pretty nice too. And so there's no threat to anybody, and I find those people. I have a man who just got released after 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And I just saw him today. He's at work, thank God. And he was respected by every individual in that prison. Every Jewish person, every non-Jewish person, every inmate, every staff member, everybody. He walked humbly, but he had the full respect of everybody because he acted as a light to the nations, so to say.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so wonderful.
So I believe that if the men and women carry themselves a certain way, and I try to instill that within them, that they will, it's sort of like you attract the vibe that you're giving off.
Out.
And if you send off positive, believing, trusting vibes, God does take care of you. And if you think it's you and your machoism and you're such a tough guy, okay, we'll see who's tough.
They're going to react that way. You've told me a really lovely story about somebody who was from this area and came out very successfully because, as usual, you gave him a very positive way of behaving or thinking after he got out. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
From this area.
Yes.
Share that with us.
One of the very, very, very first people, this was in the early 80s, this was 30 years ago, there was a very tragic case in Skokie where there was I won't even say which crime, but pretty serious, and it was involving Jewish families. And this young fellow was only 16 or 17 years old at the time the incident took place. He was too young when he was sentenced by the judge. He was a juvenile sentenced as an adult, but he was still too young to enter into the adult prisons. I started seeing him in the juvenile prison. Then he went to the adult prison. He totally, there's like a stereotype of everybody you meet in prison says they're innocent. They don't belong to be there. This young man broke down, cried, wept. He didn't say he was innocent. He did not say he was innocent. He took to heart the gravity of what he had done, and he dedicated his life to repenting and returning to God. And he started keeping kosher. He started keeping his head covered. He started praying. I taught him how to read Hebrew. He got a prayer book. He started reading the Torah. And when he went from the juvenile prison to the adult prison, they let him have his tefillin, his yarmulke, his tzitzit, his prayer shawl. They let him have all that. They worked out kosher food for him. And after serving 7 years, which was equal to 14 years, the parole board at that time felt he was rehabilitated. It wasn't long. As soon as he was out, as soon as he